My phone stayed silent for 3 days. 3 full days where not a single message lit up my screen, and then they found me. I was sitting outside a tiny cafe on South Congress. Pretending the noise and sunlight and the smell of fresh espresso might make me feel like an ordinary person again. Pretending the Austin air could wash off the betrayal. I was stirring my coffee when their car rolled up. My mother, Susan. My father, David. Together like some kind of parental firing squad. They didn't look broken or regretful. They looked furious. They didn't even bother to take seats. My father hovered over me like a cloud ready to storm. Larissa, this has gone on long enough, he said, voice tight and low like I was embarrassing him in public. You're behaving like a child. This tantrum is beneath you. You're trying to tear this family apart over something so small, just jealousy. Jealousy. The word almost made me choke on a laugh. I raised my eyes slowly from my coffee cup. Jealousy? I repeated, letting the syllables fall like stones. I was the one who secured the Vantage Hotel contract. I was the designer. Behind the Riverbend collection, the very line that pulled us back from bankruptcy, I was the only one who could properly operate the 5-axis CNC. I was the one who built everything. Meanwhile, what exactly had Ryan contributed except draining bank accounts and collecting praise he never earned? My father's cheeks flushed dark crimson, not because he had a counter-argument, but because he only ever knew how to be angry. Then my mother stepped forward, laying a calming hand on his arm, but her voice was the real weapon, gentle, controlled, that tone that always hurt worse than yelling. Larissa, sweetheart, you've always been so capable, she said. We never had to worry about you. She gave me a soft, pitying smile, the kind of smile someone uses right before they twist the knife. Ryan is fragile. He needs this opportunity. It will help him grow his confidence. Why can't you just be happy for your brother? There it was, the truth, naked and sharp. The air went right out of my chest. For my entire life, I believed my work, my dedication, my sacrifice meant something, but now I understood. They weren't punishing me for failure. They were punishing me for success. Ryan wasn't rewarded for talent. He was rewarded for weakness. My strength wasn't admired. It was exploited. I wasn't needy. I wasn't the shining favorite. I was the invisible scaffolding holding up their golden sun. I was never the heir. I was the workhorse, the one expected to carry the load so their chosen child could float along untouched. Cold clarity replaced the roar of my anger. Precision, finality. I picked up my bag. I nodded. Once. I get it now, I said. Rising to my feet, I finally understand. I walked past them. Not slowing. My father barked. Don't you walk away from us. But I didn't turn. I didn't pause. I just kept moving forward. The guilt, the lifelong burden, evaporated. They hadn't simply handed Ryan a company. They had handed me my freedom. That confrontation didn't just cut me. It unlocked me. My mother's words burned away the last traces of denial. For the first time, I saw them without illusion. They weren't simply blind to the truth. They worshipped their blindness. And love? Fairness? Those were currencies they never intended to spend on me. If I wanted justice, I couldn't rely on their hearts. I needed facts, a different kind of weapon. That night, sleep refused to touch me, lying in Emily's spare room, staring into the dark. A memory surfaced. My grandfather, the true architect of everything we had. He kept a chest of old plans and writings in the attic of my parents' house. So at 2 a.m., I drove there, parked down the block, used my old key, slipped inside like a ghost. The house was silent, filled with memories that no longer belonged to me. I crept up into the attic, thick air, dust swirling in my flashlight beam. There, covered by a forgotten canvas tarp, sat the chest. The metal latch protested. Rusty and stubborn. Inside, the scent of sawdust and aged paper, diagrams, material swatches, stacks of hand-drawn designs. And then I saw it, a journal, bound in dark leather, edges worn by time. I sat cross-legged on the wooden floor, My flashlight making the ink glow. His handwriting was strong. Like him, he wrote about everything, his struggles, victories, craft, philosophy. Then I reached a page dated 1991. A single passage changed everything. This workshop belongs to the hands that build, not the bloodline that claims ownership. Skill is the true inheritance. It cannot be gifted. It must be earned. I froze. Read it. Again. And again. He had seen me. He knew what legacy meant. This wasn't just nostalgia. This was intent. Founder's intent. Lawyers live for words like these. My anger didn't fade. It sharpened to a blade. I didn't remove the journal. Not physically. Instead, I spent hours photographing every page with meticulous care, fingers trembling with adrenaline. By 3 a.m., I had a gallery of truth in my phone. This wasn't a family squabble anymore. This was a war for the soul of the company. And now, I had ammunition. The next morning, I sat in Emily's office, my brilliant, razor-smart lawyer friend. I spread the photos out. She examined the pages, eyes narrowing with focus. "Larissa," she finally said, tapping the 1991 entry. This is a game changer. A clear expression of founder intent. It shows exactly what he believed. She leaned forward. But intent alone ain't enough to overturn a signed succession plan. It's a family business. The court expects messy. We need to prove two things. One, that you were the primary driver of the business success. And two, that Ryan is unfit to run it. He's incompetent. I said he doesn't know the first thing about theecraft. We need more than incompetence. Emily replied. We need proof. Hard documented proof. That night, I went back to Emily's place. I opened my laptop. They had cut me off from the company email, but they weren't smart now to revoke all my permissions. They'd forgotten I was the one who built company's financial servers. I still had a backdoor logging. I started digging through all the expense reports from the last year, the ones Ryan managed. It didn't take long. First, I found the office equipment budget. $9,500,000 for what I clicked the invoice. It was for a high-end surround sound system and an 80K television. I checked the shipping address, not the workshop. It was delivered to Ryan's private apartment. I just stared at the screen. He was literally billing the company for his home theater. While I hadn't taken a paycheck in a decade, I felt this cold disgust. But I kept going. I was looking for incompetence. But I had found corruption. Then I saw something else. A $5,000 charge from a law firm I didn't recognize. The line item just said consulting services. I pulled up the invoice. The payment wasn't to the family business. It was to an LLC, Ryan Designs LLC. My blood went cold. I opened a new tab. I searched the Texas State Business Registry. Ryan Designs LLC. Filed 6 months ago. The sole owner and registered agent, Ryan. I didn't understand. Why would he pay his own shell company with family money? I kept digging through the LLC's public filings and then I found it. My heart stopped. The ELLC had filed for 3 trademarks. Not for his name. For the names of my 3 most successful designs. The Riverbend chair, the Monarch desk, the Austin credenza, my designs, my work, my intellectual property. He wasn't just staking the company.
He wasn't just stealing money for his TV. He was actively, systematically,
and secretly trying to steal my entire objected, but the judge just future. He was building a lifeboat so that even if the family business failed, he would own the rights to the only things of value in it.
He wasn't just golden child.
He was a thief and I had the receipts. We were in a preliminary hearing. It wasn't a trial, but it felt like one. My parents, David and Susan, sat behind Ryan, looking at him like I was a stranger who had just set their house on fire. Ryan, on the other hand, looked bored. He was wearing an expensive suit, a little smile on his face, like this was just a scheduling conflict he had talked through. Then it was his turn to take the stand. His lawyer asked him a few softball questions about his vision for the company. Ryan was smooth, charming. He used all the right words: synergy, brand alignment, future-facing. Then it was Emily's turn. She stood up, holding a file. "Mr. Ryan," she started, Your title at the company is creative director. Is that correct? That's right, Ryan said, smiling at the judge. Excellent. Then you can certainly describe for the court that creative process behind the Riverbend collection. The one that won the Austin Design Award last year. Ryan's smile faltered just for a second. It's a very creative process. A lot of inspiration. We wanted to capture the flow of the river. Emily just nodded. Inspiration. I see. And what materials did you select for that collection? The best ones, of course. The highest quality. Specifically. Emily pressed. Was it walnut? Maple white oak? Ryan shifted in his chair. That's what our texts are for. I handle the higher concepts. The text. You mean like your sister? Lisa, the one who actually designed the entire collection. Ryan's lawyer waved her hand. Continue. Mr. Ryan, can you tell the court the difference between a mortise and a tenon joint? He scoffed again. I don't build furniture. I'm the face of the brand. I'm the one who sells it. So you're the creative director of a furniture company, and you don't know how to build furniture or design it or even what it's made of. I handle Thebasina's side, he snapped. Let's talk about that, Emily said, picking up a new stack of papers. She handed one to Hyman and put one on the projector for the judge. This is an invoice for $9,500,000 for office equipment. Can you explain that? We needed new computers. I think this is an invoice for a home theater system and an 80,000 television. Mr. Ryan and the shipping. Address is our private apartment in the Baldwin Creek neighborhood. Is that correct? I watched my parents. My father's face went pale. My mother just stared confused. And finally, Emily said, let's talk about Ryan Designs LLC. Are you familiar with that company? It wasn't a question. Ryan went white. Just completely white.
He knew it was over. This is a company you registered 6 months ago, correct? And she
put final document on the projector. Or trademark applications for the Riverbend chair, the Monarch desk. The Austin credenza designs created by your sister, Larissa. Why were you attempting to trademark your sister's designs under your own secret company? Mr. Ryan. The room was dead silent. Ryan was stammering, looking at his lawyer, looking at my parents. I was protecting the assets, the company assets. Emily took a step closer. Her voice was quiet, but it cut through the entire courtroom. Or were you stealing them? He had no answer. He just sat there. The creative director, the face of the brand, completely and totally exposed. The self-destruction was complete. The judge didn't take long to issue her ruling. She looked at my prints, then at Ryan, then at me. I have reviewed all the evidence, she began, her voice, leaving no room for argument. This court finds the plaintiff's contributions to Thebasina's to be, frankly, overwhelming. I also find the founders' intent, she said, tapping my grandfather's journal to be explicitly clear. She turned her attention to Ryan. What I also find is a flagrant and severe breach of fiduciarity, the misuse of company funds. She listed the $9,500 TV. And the fraudulent to trademark company assets through a private LC. She looked at my parents. The current succession plan is hereby invalidated. My heart hammered. Emily put a hand on my arm. Given that Mr. Ryan has proven himself both unfit and untrustworthy to run this business, and given their irreconcilable conflict, I am ordering the company to be sold at auction. My mother let out a small gasp. The proceeds, the judge continued, will be divided 50/50 between Lisa and Ryan. After Mr. Action, Ryan has reimbursed company for the $9,500,000 in stolen funds and the $5,000 in fraudulent legal fees. The gavel came down. It was done. We all filed out. I felt numb, vindicated but empty. Ryan was already yelling at his lawyer. My father just looked shattered. My mother Susan walked past me. She stopped. Her face just inches from mine. Her eyes were full of a hatred I had never seen before. You did this, she whispered, her voice shaking. You destroyed this family. She didn't get it. She never would. I just looked at her. No, you did. 6 weeks later, the business wassailed after all the debts. And after Ryan's repayments were clawed back, $110,000 was wired into my new bank account. It wasn't a fortune, but it was a start. It was mine. I didn't buy a fancy car or a condo. I rented a small, dusty 2000 workshop space in East Austin. I used half the money to buy a used CNC machine and some basic tools. I hung a simple wooden sign out front. It just said Gacy Workshop. My first call was to Rachel, the old shop manager. I can't match your old salary. I told her, not yet, but I can offer you a percentage off profits. She didn't hesitate. When do I start? We spent the first few weeks just getting the power on and calibrating the machine. My second call was to my old contacts. My third I didn't have to make. My phone rang. It was Brian, the senior engineer from Vantage Hotels. Nerissa, he said, his voice warm. I heard a rumor you went out on your own. Thank God. We never liked working with your brother. He kept trying to sell us on vibes. We're not happy with the company that bought your family's assets. Let's talk about that contract for the new 12 hotels. Just like that, I had my anchor client back, not because of my name, but because of me work. A few weeks later, I was at a liquidation auction. They were selling off the last of my old company's assets. And in the corner, covered in dust, I saw it. My grandfather's old drafting table, the one he taught me to sketch in. I bought it. I spent a week restoring it, sanding the old wood, tightening the fixtures. I put it in thickener of my new shop. That night, alone in my workshop with the hum of the CNC in the background, I sat down at the table. I sharpened a pencil, pulled out a fresh sheet of paper, and I started to design. And for the first time in a decade, I felt caught.